Okay, when we go to add device, select Arduino boards, and then with the serial port or USB connected to the Arduino, select via serial. It'll automatically detect the COM port that or the serial port that's connected for the USB cable, and you can select that and then do continue. Now the device name will automatically be generated by Arduino, but I like to customize it just for the sake of making sure that I'm not using someone else's device and be able to know which one is mine. So this says it'll take a minute or two, and so it's going through and configuring the device. As the device is being set up, I hear some relays clicking and I see some lights flashing on and off, and then I get your devices ready. So this is now the interface for the device. We'll come back to this later. One of the first things I like to do actually in making sure my Arduino is working is I like to go back to lab number 1 and make sure that the basic functionality is there. So if I press my buttons, if it were set up for lab 1, I would see moisture, temperatures, things like that being shown, but this is not the case right now. So how do I check that? I'm going to go to the chapter 1 in Moodle and see that down here there's a thing that actually shows lab week 1 code, which has all the different code for connecting to the temperature, humidity, moisture sensors, and then showing what happens when you press a button. Okay, it'll print temperature, humidity, or moisture. So the simplest thing to do is to add to sketches right here. And if you're already logged into the cloud, that'll show up under your sketches as a IoT Lab Week 1, and then in this case, a copy. Now, you can verify the code or you can upload, which also verifies it. And given that this little indicator here does not have a red X on it, it means that the serial port is connected via USB, and you can actually upload that and check your Arduino. So I'm going to go ahead and upload code from week 1 just as a diagnostic check. We'll be uploading code repeatedly throughout setting up Lab 2. And just remember, each time you're going to have to go through this process, you should see blue or green results at the bottom of the log. If it's successful, if it's red, it'll indicate that there's a problem and give you some diagnostic error codes to work from. So now that I've uploaded that code, I should see my moisture sensor and other indicators starting to work properly. So you might not be able to see it well here, but the temperature, humidity, moisture, pressure, and light sensor are all showing there. We use this guy repeatedly to sample the moisture sensor in lab 1 to set up our calibration. Okay, so our device is actually working, and that's a good diagnostic check for moving forward. Now, if we go back to the instructions, what we were really doing was we were configuring the device here, and that was an additional step of verifying that the device is working by using known code. With the moisture sensor connected, we want to go ahead and complete lab 1, Explore IoT Kit course, Urban Farming 101. So, well, where is that? Well, in our Arduino cloud interface, we can actually, we come here, actually, I'll remove this extra tab, come here and go under sketches. And then now we see the full option of options here for the cloud devices, things, dashboards. But the place we're going to start is actually going to courses, and then we're going to scroll down to Explore IoT Kit course. Now, I'm going to dive right in to Urban Farming 101. But it's worth noting that you probably will want to familiarize yourself with these other parts here, especially steps 1 and 2, which involve some basic understanding of how Arduino code works. Once we get to Urban Farming 101, there's some nice background here. And I like to keep the teacher notes enabled up. So you get these little sections here, which actually include code that we're going to use. So in this lab, which parallels the lab that we're doing and is a starting point, we start by connecting the Arduino, the moisture sensor. In our case, we actually have it in a tank. And then we learn a little bit about relays. We're going to come back to this later, but we're going to see how to use the relays as switches to turn on and off a pump. For our purpose, though, we're going to jump down to the section that involves setting up the thing in the cloud. It's called configuring the cloud. This is our starting point here. And so we've got our device connected. We just did that. And now we're going to add variables. Now, one of the things is there's not a lot of instruction in this part of the course because a lot of this background on how to use this table was described in previous familiarization courses. So you just note that essentially what this table is telling us is how to set up the device as a thing, which is a measurement system that has various appropriate variables and data types for those variables, interaction settings, permissions, and basic functionality. So we're essentially going to start from this table and then try to add a thing that includes these variables. So we'll go over to this guy after we get to the course, and we'll go to thing. There might be a thing in here from someone else's course, but you're going to ignore anything else that's in here if you already haven't started this lab, and you're going to do create a thing. You're going to want to title that urban farming, and then give it some appropriate suffix that designates it as your section and your group, maybe initials, maybe just section and group number. Here, we have kind of a blank canvas, but this is where we start creating cloud variables. So the first one we're going to create is humidity. How do I know that? Well, that was in this table here. So we just copy the word humidity, making sure we're case sensitive, get the right spelling. And then we select floating point number. And then the permissions are read only, and the interaction is off. Off interaction means actually that we're gonna not update continuously, and we're gonna sample this variable at some fixed or periodic rate. Okay, so what that means is over here we do read only, and then this is essentially the interaction effect. If it says on, we leave it to on change. Otherwise, if it's off, we're actually going to set it to periodically update. 1 second is what we're going to set this up for. Now we add another variable, come back here, temperature. It's a float. It's also read only and interactions off. So we're going to set it to update periodically in 1 second. Next variable is light. Light is an int. So light and int and read only periodically 1 second, add variable. Moist value, capital V in the middle there, is also an int. Integer, read only 1 second. Relay 1. There's actually a small typo in this part of the course. This should actually read and write for relay 1. So we'll go ahead and do relay 1 and notice that it was set up as a Boolean binary. So we'll do relay 1, Boolean, read and write, and the interaction in this case is on. So it'll update on change like that. Relay 2, Boolean, read and write, add variable. RGB color is a variable type called colored int. So we'll look under light and color, colored light, variable type, read and write on change. And then the last one is update display. This is going to be used to toggle a Boolean switch to refresh the LCD display on the Arduino. Display, Boolean, read and write on change. So right there, we've configured all of the cloud variables. So we do need to, following these instructions, we need to, we're down here on step B, we just completed that. Now we need to associate the connected device and configure the Wi-Fi network. So back over here, we've got this set up, and we'll do select device. The Hoover device here is what I have. You'll have your own device, and then now it's connected. Now, set network is where we'll go to do the Wi-Fi, and it's going to actually go to the devices page. And in this case, we're going to connect up the Wi-Fi network for this lab with username and password that's reflected on each of the benches in lab, so you know just how to set that up, and then connect to Sketch. What that essentially does was it sets up the credentials for a Wi-Fi connection under this secrets tab. Now, important to note, we just went from setup, which was the cloud variables, to the sketch. And what actually was going on was each time we were adding a variable, it was updating the code or the sketch associated with this cloud thing. Okay, and so you can see some comments on here. It includes an include statement, which is a library that we've actually defined called thingsproperties.h that has each of our variables in there, including the Wi-Fi credentials, and a few actions here under init properties. So these Arduino interfaces have a main setup. They also have a loop, and then any additional code that we program. For anything that was set to update on change, there's automatically made a function here, void relay 1 change. Then you can put in code specifically to program for that particular application. Okay, so essentially now we're going to go back to setup, and we're going to say, okay, we're connected to the device. Our Wi-Fi is set up. We have a sketch here, but we haven't completely completed. So what's the next step? After that, it says add a dashboard renamed Urban Farming with switches, gauges, and charts and indicator values indicating and linking to each of the cloud variables. So back on our course, we'll scroll down and we'll see that we have creating the dashboard here. And under this, we have essentially variables and widgets associated with those variables in our dashboard. It's going to make a dashboard that's going to look something like this. Now, I'll say in advance, we're going to change this moisture value one from a percent scale to just a raw gauge, and we're going to add a chart as well for temperature. So, so humidity percent 0 to 100%. So over here, we come in and to go to our dashboard. We're actually going to go to dashboards and then create or plus dashboard. And let's rename that dashboard again with a similar name, Urban Farming, and a designation that says which group, in this case, Hoover, and then we edit and add. So coming back over here, we're going to make a humidity percent widget. So that's essentially down here, we'll look for percent, and we'll have humidity This name is just what's going to be shown on the display. You can put anything here, but you do have to link the variable. And actually, this part where you link the variable, it's really important to make sure that if you have more than one thing in your account, you choose the one that's active. That's your thing. So here, notice that these are all from a different configuration. The one I'm working with today is this one, and then humidity is the variable. I link the variable. Now down here, I can do some things like, for instance, I can add an icon. If I wanted to, I could add a little like moisture icon like that. I can have it change a threshold, for instance, based on below, let's say 30%, I will change the color to red. So I've got humidity. Temperature is going to be a gauge. So add that gauge. Temp. I'm putting in the variable units as C, linking the variable urban farming temperature, which is a float, link the variable. Here you can choose a range, like -40 to 100 if you want there. And then now we go light is a value. So adding a widget, a value is just an indicator of the number. So we'll put light, I'll put the word intensity just in the description, linking the variable here, here. It's an integer. And if I wanted to make an icon for that, I might show a little light bulb or something like that. Done. Moist value. Now it does say to add moist value as a percentage. We're going to add it as a gauge and moisture. We're going to say that the units is millivolts, link the variable, choose the right one, moist, link variable. And then the range here, we're going to put 600 to 1200. Okay, like that. Add relay 1 is a switch. So switch, relay 1. We're going to actually put in parentheses that this is our pump. Okay, link the variable. And again, right here, Boolean. If I had labels, that's fine. Just leave it like that. Add another variable for relay 2. We'll put that that's our fan. Add a variable for RGB color as a colored light. So add that color light, and we'll just link the variable RGB color, link variable like that. It puts this interactive GUI where you can actually turn the lights on and off and change the color. And then lastly, a switch for update display. That's just going to toggle our LCD to display. So switch, write the words update display, link the variable. And that is the basics of our dashboard. So right here, once we program everything, this will start to show our data from our device. So go back here, actually close out here, and we'll make sure that we did everything right. If we look down at the instructions, we see that it also says to hook up moist value to a gauge ranging from 600 to 1200. I already did that. And add a temperature chart and rearrange the dashboard. So I'm going to add a temperature chart. I'm going to make this a little cleaner, put humidity up here, relay, make the relays a little smaller. And that right there, update display, put this here. We'll do light intensity up here. That for light. Moisture, we'll put here. And temp, we have as a gauge here. But we're also going to go ahead and make a chart. So chart right here. We'll call this temp. C. We can link the same variable twice. So we'll see we have temperature as well. Linking that twice. We can choose whether to plot it as a line or spline with interpolation. We'll just leave the default setting there. And now we get this chart here. So now we're done. Going back to the instructions for the Urban Farming 101 setup, it then says to copy paste the Urban Farming 101 code into the sketch. Okay, so in the course where it says gradually building the code, there is a teacher comments enabled that actually has the code that we're going to use. So we're actually going to copy paste this. So first grab everything, make sure you get all the way down to the bottom, Control C, and then go into your code. And now we're going to go back to the thing that we're associated with, which is this guy. Okay. And then we're going to the sketch. And now all the code that was automatically put in here, we're actually going to scrub right out. So Control A, delete. Now we have an empty sketch, but the code that we grabbed from here, we're going to snip that and paste it right in. Okay, and we'll take a look at that. Okay, so this code is consistent with the variables that we have, the naming conventions that we have, and all's good. Now we're going to edit this because we don't have a case, so we'll change that. No case. And it also says that we're going to edit the section down here where it defines moisture value. Now, the moisture value example here actually was a map, a linear interpolation, this function map that allows us to put our moisture results mapped to 0 to 100. We're going to ignore that, and then we're going to just assign our moist value to raw moist value for now, making sure that we put a semicolon on the end of that. So back on the instructions, we just did this, okay? And now the next step is upload, verify, and upload the sketch. So here we go. We're good to go. We've got our verify here, or verify and upload. So let's go ahead first and verify. This is just going to make sure that our syntax is correct. So if we had semicolons that didn't fall in, or brackets that weren't appropriately opened and closed, or maybe variables that we didn't define and declare, we'll get any kind of error related to those. Otherwise, if it verifies, then we should be able to then upload the sketch, uploading, reprogram the Arduino with the code that we've just made for our dashboard. So far, so good. Go ahead and upload. Note that upload actually also verifies the code before it does it too, so you don't really have to press the verify button first time. As this is uploading, I hear my Arduino clicking. The relays are going on and off. The previous display that I had programmed in there went blank, and now it actually shows waiting for connection, which is what it actually is, what we programmed it to do. And you can read about all of what's going on in here line by line. So we have the setup. It does establish the serial connection via USB. It does start the Arduino cloud in this case variable, and then it has this carrier.begin function. There is a little diagnostic bit here that shows the Arduino connection, waiting for connection to the display, which is what we currently see. In the loop, we do Arduino cloud.update, and then we have some logic for what we're going to do. If relay 1 is true, we're going to set carrier.relay1 to open, and we're going to also change the string relay state 1 to on, and similarly off, or for relay 2 right here. We're also going to update the carrier light. We're going to read the temperature and humidity sensor and read the raw moisture value from the moist pin A5. Down here, we actually aren't really changing anything for relay 1 or relay 2, but this is what we do if we set the RGB on the lights. And if we do update display, we're going to print to the carrier's LCD display a white background with red text, the temperature, humidity, light, moist value, and relay states if update display is set. Okay, so we just did that. And so what we really want to do, going back to the instructions now, is verify that the sensors in the dashboard work correctly. So the way we do that is, first we can actually look at the setup, and we should actually start to see values in here, and those values can be changing if our device is connected. So I'm going to put my finger over the temperature sensor, and down at the bottom I see the temperature going up. As well, I'll put my finger over the light sensor and see the light go down in numbers right here. So it is working as expected. And then also, more importantly, we go to our dashboard, and now we have some results here. So a few things, I'll put finger over the light intensity, and that changes. The humidity, you can change that a little bit. The moisture, temperature, and so on. I'll put my finger over the temp sensor, and it starts to go up and start to warm up. And you can see that both in the chart and in the output gauge. Now, the Arduino here, if I turn on the lights and turn the intensity up here, actually I see I just have a failed to connect to the cloud here. So maybe while I was handling the USB, it might have jostled it, but I'll see if this works. On, and it turns on the lights. You can see the lights are on, and you can actually change the color. Actually, this interface doesn't have enough space for that, so I can turn off the lights, on the lights, off, and then update display. You can see that the display updates, and actually you might not be able to see it in detail on the screen here, but it actually is displaying the temperature, humidity, light, and the relays as well. So I could actually change the relays, and I will see a light at the bottom indicating relay 1 is on, off, relay 2 on, off. As well, I can see the changes in the update here in the display. So that's the basic setup for the original Urban Farming 101 lab. And then the next step actually asks us to do the USB disconnection and programming over the air. This is not as important of a step unless we want the Arduino to be mobile and portable, so that we program it only remotely. So right now I'm going to stop right here, and with the dashboard working, we're going to call that success.